Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. If you're new to this channel, my name is Jay. I make music production tutorials for beginners on YouTube in Cubase and FL Studio. So consider subscribing and click that post notification bell so that you get notified every time I upload a brand new video. I'm going to be showing you how to mix and master your beat in FL Studio. I'm going to be sharing a few tricks that I use and just discuss some basics on how to mix and master a beat in FL Studio. So this video came as a request from someone. He actually requested that I make a video on how to master a beat in FL Studio, but I thought it wouldn't be complete, so I thought I should do a complete mixing and mastering a beat in FL Studio, because the most important processes are actually in the mixing process, and I wanted to cover that so that we also go to the mastering process. Though during the mastering process there isn't much to cover. Basically it's just taking your mix to the standard loudness, and then maybe if there's anything to be done, maybe some EQing or anything, but nothing much, and adding some saturation, maybe just something like that. So first of all, before you even start mixing, the most important thing that you're supposed to do is listen to a number of similar music in that type of music style that you're dealing with. Let's say for example you're dealing with a trap song or Afro pop, R&B, reggae, and so on. You need to be able to identify the samples that are dominant in that type of music. For example, if the snares are too dominant, if the kick is dominant in that type of music style, you need to know, because that information will really help you figure out how you're going to balance your instruments and your samples in your mix. So make sure you listen to a number of songs in that direction that you are trying to go into. When it comes to the mixing process, we're going to talk about 5 steps, and the first one will be organizing the samples and instruments and sending them to your mixer. By organizing your samples and instruments, what I mean is renaming your samples. Make sure each sample has got an appropriate name for it. Let's say a kick, you rename it as a kick, a snare as a snare. You just organize these samples and just get rid of all the samples that you did not use. Seems like a lot of work to do, but you really need to do this because it will help you a lot when it comes to mixing. You'll be able to identify exactly where the kick is, where the snare is, where any type of instrument is. And the second step we'll look at is cleaning sample frequencies using EQs. Each sample and each instrument has got a specific frequency range where it is concentrated. So what we do with the EQ is cutting out all those frequencies that are not in the range of that sound, because if you leave those frequencies, they're going to start conflicting with samples that are concentrated in that other frequency range. So let's say for example you have a kick and your 808, so these samples are concentrated on the low end of the frequency spectrum. When you play these samples, somehow they'll have some noises that are protruding going all the way to the high end frequencies. So what we need to do during this process is make sure that your 808 and your kick are just concentrated wherever they are, and cut out all the noises that might conflict with the hi-hats on the high end. So we're just going to be cutting out for each instrument and cleaning these frequencies, making sure each instrument is concentrated in the respective frequency range. We'll now look at level balancing, which we just call gain staging, and I'm going to share with you guys some tricks that I use to balance kick, your snare, and these other instruments in the mix so that it sounds decent. And the fourth step will just be dynamic balance plus reverb and delay. So I'm just going to quickly discuss how you can add some more plugins when it comes to these samples, maybe just to sweeten them a little bit, how you can add some reverb and just some plugins that would really make some of your sounds sound great. Finally, we'll look at the fifth step, which is just mastering. And during mastering, there isn't much to discuss. Like I said in the beginning, mastering, we're just taking this mixed beat to the standard loudness level, if that's what you want to do. Because for beats, just after you balance everything else, you can just record right there without even mastering the beat, and then you just master everything else together with the vocals. Mastering of a beat isn't really that complicated because you expect to sing on this beat. So I'm going to show you how you master the beat, adding some saturation, maybe EQ, and just pushing it to the acceptable loudness. Alright guys, so make sure you proceed to part 2 of this video and let's start doing exactly what I just told you in here. Thanks a lot for watching. See you in part 2.